Contrary to that, actually, sunscreen prevents cancer. It prevents harmful UV radiation from the sun from reaching your skin and causing mutations in your cellular DNA. Hi, skin friend. Thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode of The Skin Reel. This week, I'm doing a little solo episode, and actually, it's going to be broken down into two parts because there's so much good information. And really, I could do an episode on this once a month, but I am going to be busting some common skincare myths. And these myths, they are so pervasive. I feel like not a week goes by that someone's not asking me these questions or wondering, is this true? Does this really happen? Or do I really need to worry about that? So what I've come to realize is even though I feel like, oh, isn't this obvious? Doesn't everyone know this by now? There's so much misinformation out there about skincare and our skin health that it's really important that people like dermatologists, people who have really trained and studied the skin and body are giving really good information. And so I've had a lot of fun putting this episode together. I love busting skincare myths and giving just really good science-backed factual information to people so that they're not stressed out, frustrated, and wasting their time on stuff that doesn't matter. So I'm going to break this down into two parts. And if you're dying to know what the other 5 are before that episode comes out, I do have a PDF that you can download if you go to theskinreel.com/myths, and that will share with you in a PDF form my top 10 skincare myths. But for today, we're going to be breaking down numbers 1 through 5. So if you're like me and you want to know just what's the real truth, what do I really need to do, what can I forget about and not worry about, then you are going to want to tune in to this week's episode. All right, so let's break it down. Number 1 skincare myth is that natural is always better. And I see this not just with skincare, but with everything, really. There's this really big push for natural, so much so that sometimes I think we're regressing in some of the things we're doing, like natural as in don't treat infections and viruses or bacteria and things like that. But I'm here to say that, yes, I love natural too. I would much prefer something made of natural products than necessarily synthetic products. I care passionately about the environment. I want the world to be a better place for my children. And a lot of times I have concerns about climate change and what we're doing to the world and our earth. And so first things first, yes, I care passionately about our environment. That being said, natural is not always better. There's a lot of bad stuff in nature. There are things that cause disease, that cause cancer that are natural. And so just because something's natural doesn't necessarily mean it's better. And I find that people just assume that all pharmaceutical products are not natural, but really a lot of the medicines, a lot of the treatments that we have were actually derived from natural things. So take, for instance, aspirin. Aspirin is derived from salicylates, which are found in plants and in nature. And so you may not think of aspirin as a natural product, but that is what it is from. It is from the salicylates in nature and plants. I love actually the fact that in the past, scientists and researchers have used nature to guide us on what treatments and options will work. And we look to thousands of years ago, right? People, some of the native inhabitants or Chinese medicine, we're looking at very natural ways to treat disease and illnesses. And so I think that's really important. And a lot of our medications are actually based on that. But because it's now packaged and sold by a pharmaceutical company, people just think it's not natural. So I love how nature gives us guidance on treatment options and remedies, things that we can extract from nature and find out, well, what exactly in that plant or in that leaf or in that berry? What is the chemical compound within it that is giving the medicinal benefit? And then using that and being able to scale it so that people can use it on a worldwide level, right? Because you can't necessarily scale using a certain leaf or extract. That would also potentially be harmful to the environment to totally eradicate it from nature because everyone's trying to use it for medicinal purposes. So being able to find out, well, what is that compound? What is that chemical in that natural product? And then how do we scale it so people can use it? So I think sometimes people just think that natural means do it yourself, or you buy it at the grocery store, you mix it up at home and apply it to your skin, or you ingest it, and that is always superior to something that has been produced in a laboratory. But a lot of the stuff produced in a laboratory is using those compounds or extracts, those chemical formulations from natural products. So don't be fearful about using medications or prescriptions if you need them. The other thing about completely natural is if our skincare products were completely natural, they would not last. You'd be able to use it about 1 day, maybe 2 days, and then you'd have to throw it out. So that is why we use things like preservatives in our skincare products, beauty products, because without them, then it's going to get really natural. You're going to get mold growing, you're going to get bacteria growing in there, and then you're going to put that on your skin, maybe even open wounds, and you're going to have a really big problems and infections. So that is an example of when being supernatural isn't really the best option. So that is why we have things like preservatives, so that we have shelf life for some of these products. So just keep in mind, you may want to keep things natural. You may want to use fewer products. You may want to be conscientious about the environment and waste. And I think all of that is wonderful. And what I like to say is if you're really worried about clean beauty and having natural things, then also simply use less of everything, right? If you're using a ton of stuff, it's a lot of waste. It's a lot of products you don't need and a lot of trash that's going to accumulate. So to me, natural is also just being simple and simplifying and only using the things that really matter. And again, that's like a gentle cleanser for me, a vitamin C serum. Okay, talk about natural, using the active ingredient in vitamin C that can help with dyspigmentation and help your skin actually fight off free radicals from the sun. And then sunscreen, of course. And then I also like to use a vitamin A cream in the evening. Vitamin A, it's an important component, retinoic acid, binds to the retinoic acid receptors. So again, it may sound like a chemical, right? Because it is, but it's still coming from something very natural, which is vitamin A. So just be mindful that natural doesn't necessarily mean you make it at home in your kitchen, that a lot of the stuff out there is natural if you actually do the research into it and really look into where did it come from, how was it developed. My take on this is if you really want to keep things natural, then simply live a simpler life. Use fewer products in everything that you do, buy less, and recycle what you can. My number 2 skincare myth is that skincare is a quick fix. I see this so much, so often. People come in and they want that one cream or that one product to change their life. And they're even willing to spend a ton of money on stuff because they feel like that one thing is going to change everything. And I have to say with skincare, with a lot of stuff we do in skincare, it is not a quick fix. I would say maybe save for actually cutting out a skin cancer. You come in with a skin cancer, you leave with a skin cancer gone. But again, that wound healing takes time. It's not overnight. It's not 24 hours. Same thing with even cosmetic treatments, right? The skin takes time to adapt, to change, to remodel, for cell turnover. So things take time. So my advice to people is to be patient, to try to be consistent, and to really give most things several weeks, if not several months, to see improvement. I find way too often people jump from product to product or procedure to procedure or even provider to provider, and they don't really give it a chance or the time to really see improvement with what they're doing. And so by jumping around, you're definitely not going to see improvement. So really, consistency is key. Know that your skin is a dynamic, living organ, and meaningful changes in your skin require time and patience. So consistency is key, and developing a skincare routine, sticking to it, is so important for long-term skin health and improvement. But when you stick with it, you will reap the rewards of beautiful skin. My third skincare myth, and this is really pervasive. I don't know why. Well, I kind of know why, but I wish we could just really squash this myth once and for all. And that is that sunscreen causes cancer. Now, I had an episode with Dr. Mina, who is an awesome integrative dermatologist. You can check out that episode. I believe it's episode 69, titled "Does Sunscreen Cause Cancer?" And the overwhelming answer with an abundance of scientifically backed research is no, sunscreen does not cause cancer. Now, contrary to that, actually, sunscreen prevents cancer. It prevents harmful UV radiation from the sun from reaching your skin and causing mutations in your cellular DNA. Yes, we know without a question of a doubt, many agencies report this. It's worldwide that the sun, ultraviolet radiation from the sun, causes skin cancer. And we even know the exact mutations that it causes in our DNA. Yes, yikes. That's pretty scary, I think. And as someone who treats a lot of skin cancer, I see day in and day out the harmful effects of the sun on my patients. And unfortunately, a lot of the times this is cumulative sun damage, so it builds up slowly over the years. And so by the time you really start to notice the damage has been done, and it's hard to go back and erase that damage, erase those changes. So that's why I really encourage people now, do it now, no matter what age you are, but the younger you can start, the better. You will save your skin. You will save yourself from skin cancer, from scarring, from all of that. So please don't wait until it's too late. Now, the link between UV radiation from the sun and tanning beds is cumulative, like I said. And so it's this sort of insidious exposure day in, day out, driving to work, driving home, that you don't even really realize that can add up and ultimately cause these skin cancers later in your life, although I'm seeing it more often, people even in their 30s and 40s. And if the thought of skin cancer doesn't really scare you, then know that UV radiation from the sun is responsible for up to 90% of aging changes that we see in our skin. So this is something that is really, really preventable. And it's so important to start now. So sunscreen use is one of the key ways to protect yourself from UV radiation. It's not the only way. I also love sun protective strategies like sitting in the shade, wearing a hat, wearing sun protective clothing with a UPF of 50 or higher. These are all great ways to prevent sun damage. But sunscreen does not cause cancer. And I'll just briefly say that some of these reports came out, and oxybenzone is a big one that people get worried about. There's been some studies that have shown that sunscreen chemicals are absorbed into our bloodstream. Now, this is not really surprising for dermatologists because we know that stuff we apply on our skin is absorbed into our bloodstream. Now, this study did not report on any problems from this or any causation to anything negative. It simply reported that these chemicals, yes, were absorbed, but it did not show that there were any issues with that whatsoever. The other report I hear people worry about is the fact that there were some reports a few years ago of benzene in sunscreen. And of course, we know benzene is a carcinogen. We don't want to be putting benzene on our skin, although we are exposed to benzene every day in our day-to-day life. Things like pollution, car exhaust, smoking, and secondhand smoke all contain benzene. But yes, nobody wants benzene in their sunscreen. It shouldn't be there. It was a contaminant. And most of the products that had benzene tended to be aerosolized formulations. And so if you are concerned about that, then maybe stick to a non-aerosolized version and you should be safe. Since that study came out, a lot of these big name companies and brands, they pulled the products that had benzene and they've reformulated them to be safe and to make sure that that contaminant of benzene is no longer getting into their sunscreen. And then the third issue I hear people talk about with sunscreen is that it can be an endocrine disruptor. And studies have not shown that to be true in humans. And then there have been some studies using animal models like rats where they were eating copious amounts of some of the chemical filters used in sunscreens and found that there could be a link with endocrine disruption in these models, but no studies have reported this to be the case in humans. And again, we're not eating the sunscreen, we're not rats, we're just applying it to our skin. And I do have to say, even probably myself, we are not applying it to 100% of our body surface area, and we're most likely not applying it as thickly as we should. And so again, we know that the benefits of using sunscreen are so high and the risks just have not been validated in humans to show that they actually do cause cancer or that they're endocrine disruptors. So please, I beg you, wear sunscreen, sun protect. You really will thank me in 50 years. Now, moving on to skincare myth number 4 is that skincare has to be complicated and expensive. And this one is a really hard one to try to convince my friends and my patients because we are inundated with beauty, consumerism, and it is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And we are constantly being marketed to and sold stuff. There's always a new shiny object. There's a new product being peddled by some beautiful, gorgeous celebrity. And of course, we all want to look like him or her. And so we think if we buy it, we'll get that amazing skin. And I'm just like shocked at the price of some of these products. I mean, $200, even more for things like moisturizers and cleansers, stuff you wash off your face. And I am just here to say I have never spent a lot of money on my skincare products, and I use very few of them. But the key is I'm not cheap just to be cheap. I use quality ingredients, and I can find those quality ingredients at very reasonable prices. What I am picky about is how it feels on my skin, because if I don't like how it feels, if it smells, if it's sticky, if it clogs my pores, if it runs in my eyes, I'm not going to use it, no matter how inexpensive it is or how expensive it is or how popular it is. So to me, the most important skincare products are the ones that you like how it feels, you're going to use it, and you're going to put it on. If money is no object and you love the thought of luxury skincare, you love the packaging, you love sort of the whole production of a morning or evening skincare routine, then by all means, go for it if that's how you want to spend your money. But please don't fool yourself or think that you're getting necessarily a better product or better results because you've invested that money. Now, that being said, I think it's important to use products that are well-researched, well-studied, and you can get that with a lot of these big name companies like Neutrogena, La Roche-Posay, CeraVe, Cetaphil, Dove. These are Aveeno, right? I could go on and on. These are massive companies, and they spend a lot of money in research and development. They invest in studies to show that their products are safe and effective, and they have a lot of options. And so for me, that really sells it for me, right? I can test out different ones. I can see what I like, and I just don't find the need to spend money on expensive products as long as I like the way it feels. I like how it looks on my skin, how it absorbs, it does a good job, and I know I'm getting quality products and quality ingredients. To me, that is so much more important than it coming in a fancy, pretty box or being endorsed by some celebrity. So skincare, it doesn't have to be expensive. And you may also think, well, all the procedures out there are expensive. Getting Botox every couple of months is expensive, right? And that is true. Now, for me personally, I would rather spend my money on in-office procedures that I know are effective, that I know will do the job. And again, I use those very judiciously. like I've said before, I've never done a chemical peel. I've never done laser. I've never done microneedling on myself personally. Not because I don't think it works, because I haven't had a need. But trust me, when I feel like I need it, I'm going to do it. But again, I've been sort of waiting and saving, and I'm going to use those only when I need it so that I'm being smart with my time and my money. But what I do that is non-negotiable is that I have a simple but effective skincare routine that I do every single day, morning and night. And I am vigilant about sun protection. And I really attribute my skin right now and how it looks in my mid-40s to that. Now, yes, about 10 years ago, I started doing neuromodulators like Botox and Xeomin on a fairly regular basis. And I've also done about 4 vials of Sculptra. And I've also had hyaluronic acid fillers like Restylane and Juvederm in the past. But again, my skin texture, complexion, tone, all of that is really a testament to sun protection and a good skincare routine that includes a vitamin A derivative like a retinoid, which I've been consistently using for decades. So skincare, it doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be complex. You can choose to do all the in-office procedures that you want or to not do, but as long as you've got a good skincare routine with key ingredients, again, key ingredients, not necessarily expensive ingredients, and sun protection, you are like 3/4 of the way there. So hopefully I have squashed that myth, but I have a feeling it's something I'm going to have to just repeat over and over because it's so hard to believe. And sometimes people think it's just too simple to be true, but it is. And myth number 5 for part 1 of skincare myths is that if someone has a large social media presence or celebrity status, then they must know about skincare. I see this all the time. People, talking heads, talking about skincare, talking about products, talking about their routines. I guess it's okay to talk about your skincare routine and what you do, but the problem is people then take that as gospel. They take that as truth, as fact, and then they want to emulate it. And just remember what works for one person. And again, you're getting their very edited version of what they really do. You know, they're giving you just a little tidbit of what they do. Just because they're doing that doesn't mean it's right for you. And I always like to say when people ask me, what do I really need for my skin? Well, you really need to think about 2 things. You need to think about your skincare needs. So what kind of skin do you have? Is it dry? Is it oily? Is it a combination? Do you have eczema? Do you have acne? Do you have rosacea? So think about your skin needs, and then you got to pair that with your skin goals. So are you someone who wants to be really proactive, who wants to do a ton of cosmetic stuff? Or are you someone who really wants to take a more natural approach, who wants to do minimal procedures and stuff like that? So you got to pair the 2, and that's how you get your habits. So no 2 people are going to be alike. And this can also change depending on where you are in life. What you think at 20 could be very different from when you're 40 or even 50 or 60. So it's fluid. So when I see people just copying what someone famous is doing or someone beautiful or someone with gorgeous skin, I just caution you that what they're doing may actually not be the best for you. And to take it with a grain of salt, right? Are they being paid to promote that product? Are they a brand sponsor, right? They may not even use what they're saying. And they're also not really telling you about all the other stuff they're doing behind the scenes to keep their skin looking amazing. They're probably doing a ton of procedures, surgeries, all of this other stuff that they're not disclosing. And they're making it sound like it's just their simple one product that they're trying to sell or promote. So take it with a grain of salt. Also, listen when you are following people on social media or people who are telling you to do this or do that. Like, what is their training? What are their credentials? How are they an expert? Are they really an expert? I think too often we just sort of take what we hear or what we read online as truth without really delving into, is it really truth? how is this person an expert? Are they really an expert in what they're talking about? There are a ton of people who love skincare and they love to talk about skincare, but they're not really trained experts. And there might be some sort of financial gain for them promoting a certain thing or saying a certain thing. So again, I bring it all back to like, trust your dermatologist. This is someone who has spent decades of their life learning not just about the skin, but your whole body, because as we are realizing more and more, skincare, I like to say skincare is whole body care, right? You can't just throw on some creams on your skin and then neglect the rest of your body and think you're going to have amazing skin. It really has to start from the inside out. And so making sure you're getting really good advice from someone who is training, not just in the skin, but really in whole body health and medicine is really key. And I think ultimately, I know it's going to save you time and frustration and money, and it's going to get you the results that you want. So trust a true skin expert with your skin. All right. Well, hopefully you have had your eyes open to maybe some skincare myths that you thought were facts, and hopefully I have helped set you straight. You are definitely going to want to stay tuned for part 2, where I delve through numbers 6 through 10. And again, if you just can't wait for that, you can always get my PDF, Skincare Myths Busted, at theskinreel.com/myths. And I will see you all next week. That's all I've got for this week's episode of the Skin Reel podcast. But here's some great news. One of the most valuable things you can do to help me and other new potential listeners to find my show is for you to both rate this show and leave a review. So as a special bonus for you, if you leave me a review, take a screenshot and email it to info@theskinreel.com, and I will send you a thank you free PDF on skincare truths versus hype, because you know I love spreading the word of good, truthful skincare. And please be sure to share with your skin friends so that we can get the word out there about real skin. And until next time, remember, no matter where you are in your skincare journey, always remember to love the skin you're in, because real skincare from real experts can be real simple.